Hey everyone, Cooper here, host of the fine podcast you're listening to. I just want to let you know that the episode you clicked on has a format that is very heavily inspired by a podcast called The Bookening. To be clear, our thoughts and opinions in this episode are our own, but the format is very similar to this podcast. I just wanted to give you a heads up and give credit where it is due. With that out of the way, enjoy the show. Coming up next, Booking It reads Watership Down. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Booking It. I'm of course your humble and eloquent host, Cooper Cobbs, and joining me today is my very good friend, Mr. Tanner Lewis. That's right, we had to jump through hoops to do it, but I am not alone. Isn't that great?
It's so great.
You can start singing the chorus from Dear Evan Hansen now, Tanner. You are not alone. You are not alone.
Do you know what it is, though?
It's
late, folks. It's like 10 o'clock.
This is very late.
The latest episode ever.
It's true. Latest recording. We're running out of time, to get this done, because 7 hours from now, it'll be out on the interwebs. So you're here. I'm tired. Tanner's tired. I got back from work a couple minutes ago, where I pretended to be Frosty the Snowman to little kids. So that's my new job, guys. By the way, I'm not joking. It's to be a character at an interactive Christmas experience around us.
And we're so proud of you for it.
Yeah, it's very fun. Yeah, I know. I get paid more than the average employee there, because I'm a full body costume. So, yeah.
Way to go.
What's funny was I was a panda, because we have a panda at a Christmas place for some reason, and the guy where I was changing the costume, and the guy told me, "Hey, last time I was panda, I came out cross-eyed because the sight is so bad in it." And I said, "That's great. I'm naturally cross-eyed, so we'll see how this goes."
Awesome.
Anyway. Yeah, it's okay. What didn't defend was you said to see out of one eye hole. They're just so far apart. It's like, I don't know. It's weird.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But anyway, here we are. Next week, we'll be back. Isaiah will be back. He's finally back from his trip. I said back way too many times in the past 3 sentences. But he'll be back. We'll talk about Ember's End, finally wrap up the Green Ember, get Isaiah's thoughts on Watership Down, and then hopefully we'll do Christmas Carol before the year ends, and we launch into our very new series next year, which I'm excited to announce as well. So, oh yeah, by the way, I also took the SAT yesterday, so that was fun. So yeah, another reason to be tired.
All fun things for Cooper.
Yeah, all fun things for yes, motto of my life. But what is fun is talking to you about Watership Down.
Yes, sir.
I gave my baggage last episode, and I might give some of it here again, but what is your baggage, sir, Mr. Tanner Lewis, with the book Watership Down?
So I think I had heard of it before. I'm not exactly sure from who. I actually might have seen I don't know.
The Netflix, the BBC/Netflix animated
maybe.
miniseries?
I think I might have seen it, just seen it, not thought about it.
Right.
I don't know. I'd seen stuff around. I've heard of it before. I think it had come up on one of my recommended after reading the Green Ember. But
yes, because algorithms think, oh, bunny book, great match, right?
Yes, especially Amazon. They take a lot of pride in that. That's why I came up with all dystopian stuff after reading The Hunger Games, and my search results were never the same.
Yeah.
But for Watership Down, I think the first time I'd actually thought about reading it or doing anything with it was when you mentioned it for the podcast, and so I spent way too much money and got myself a really nice edition because I like spending a lot of money on my hardcover books.
Yeah.
And I think I spent like $35 on an illustrated edition with a hard copy for a hardcover book. I'm not disappointed. It's got like the good paper, not like the
Right.
rough paper, but like the
Yeah,
picture paper.
The bad thing
Oh.
about like these nice editions is you're worried about the inside, you know? Like obviously the outside looks great, but what's it gonna feel like? And the print, how's that gonna be? I don't know. That's
I
something
enjoyed
think
mine.
about.
I'm
Good,
enjoying
good.
mine.
I'm glad you do. I'm glad you enjoy
It doesn't put Here's the best part. It doesn't put print on the back of the illustrations.
Oh,
So it doesn't
okay.
put print on the back part of the illustrations. So
Doesn't
it
bleed
looks
through.
bigger than it is, but it doesn't bleed through. You don't like see it. And like as I said, full color edition. I'm just telling you, I'm very much in love with this copy.
Good.
Anyways, I spent too much money on this, but I'm not disappointed. And I'm currently reading it. I was reading it last night, this morning, both. But I think that I just finished the portion where they've
stolen
met.
the does, or
No, I'm before that.
okay.
I do know what you're talking about though, because I did watch part of the animated series at one point.
Gotcha.
So that's why I can kind of keep up with parts.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit over a third into it.
Okay.
We've
Nice.
just got onto we've just passed the point where we've met who was the captain of the Owsla?
Oh yeah, Holly. Yes.
Holly, yes. We've
I
just
remember
met
that
Holly.
scene in the series. He just like comes limping in the dark. That's
Yeah.
creepy. Yeah.
That was very creepy.
Yeah.
Actually, here's what I have to say about the series. The entire series is kind of creepy.
It's kind of what?
Creepy.
Yeah.
It's
It
not
is.
like
Oh, dude.
it's
that
not like the
scene-
book. The book is like very nice and like happy.
Yeah,
and
it's very
clean.
Hobbit-like in that way.
Yeah, but like this.
Yeah, there's that scene
the
in
TV
the very
show
first
is
part.
just scary.
Where Fiverr sees the bones, right, and the warren, underground warren, the cowslips warren. Remember that part? And
Yeah,
he
I
just
remember that.
Sees the bones, and that's it is creepy, even though it's terribly animated, you know. And
Yeah.
that part of the book, I think I talked about it last time, was what really got me hooked on the book. Was I just couldn't stop reading after that point, and that image was in my mind the entire time while reading it. So you're right; they definitely lean into the creepy elements that Fiverr has and things like that.
Yeah.
And General Woundwort and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I definitely like the book better. I will probably not finish the series because of that.
Well, we might end up if you can finish it, we might end up doing a review of it for patreon.com/booknet.
Sounds good. Keep that in mind.
Yes. Well, I think that we'll get some more general thoughts today, and then we'll circle back next week. And Isaiah is reading it right now. You're reading it right now. So hopefully we can have it done and do a kind of a Green Ember / Watership Down episode and kind of wrap up both of those series with a bang and a mega episode. So I guess first time, what do you think? I mean, what do you think about Watership Down? I think you like it a lot. And that's clear, but tell us your thoughts, my man.
I like it. I think that it's entertaining. I think that it's very... you said Hobbit-like. I agree with that. I think it's like a very happy... It's a very happy setting for as far as you can go for the theme.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just such a blend of so many things that it's just kind of confusing to try and convey. It's kind of its own
it is
thing.
A blend. It is a blend. For sure.
It's its own thing is kind of what I have it registered as. Like, I can't say, oh, it's this great fantasy novel, or oh, it's this like great story. It's just like, no, it's kind of this book.
It's like I talked about this last time. It's part Odyssey, part Hobbit, part Green Ember, and part just nonfiction book about rabbits. Like, it's all of those things. Oh, and part dystopian novel, for heaven's sake, with Ephrafa.
Yes.
And with all that kind of stuff. So, and part like mystic prophecy, kind of like it's got a bunch of just genres mashed into one, and I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I'm just like, I was trying to explain it to my mom today, but I'm just like, there's not really a plot. It's just kind of like a book.
Yeah, I mean, because
right?
you can kind of see. I like what the author says in the introduction. I'm not sure if you read this, but he says it was just like, this is never meant to be an allegory. It's just some stories that I made up for my kids in the car about rabbits.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is, because halfway through the book, they're, I guess where you are even, like they're all good. You know, they've got it. They're not like, hold up, we have no way of keeping this warren going, and then the story just keeps kind of moving along. You know what I mean? So like it really is four distinct parts. Like it is the journey, then it is, you know, living on a Watership Down, then it is the need for does we can keep the warren alive, then, you know, the final battle at the end. But it doesn't feel clunky at all. But the story just keeps going, and it's a lot of fun. Like you can kind of tell, you know, he was like, I need this story to keep going. Ah, yes, here it is, the solution here. But I don't know. It's not a criticism by any means, but I understand.
Yeah, I just kind of like how it's so uniquely itself, and like the stories are just so.
Oh yes, I am there for Fairy Wogdog. Okay, wait, you're not there yet, are you? There's this really weird story. It's the very last story about El Herrera, and it's called Fairy Wog. No. Yeah, is it Fairy Wogdog? And I don't know. It's Fairy Wogdog is in there somewhere. And it's the most obscure, random story. But I'm there for it because I love it a lot, and the mythology is really cool.
Yeah, I love his mythology though.
Yes.
Here's what I have to say. I love his kind of religion for the rabbits. It's honestly amazing.
Yeah, and it's not like a religion. Like, it's not like they pray or do anything like that. So, like, don't be
unless you're one of the weird
off-put by that.
Unless you're one of the weird rabbits and cowslips.
Oh yeah, the cowslips. They definitely had like I don't know how to put it, but like a weird vibe.
They had a cult
about that. Yeah, you're right. Let's just say it. Yes.
Cowslips Warren was a cult.
Yes, precisely. But what was I gonna say? Oh yes, it was. It's like it's just accepted. You know, all these things are just accepted, and that's always really cool because it's like just a mythology and a history for them basically at that point. It's just the sun, the god is Frith. Then you have El Herrera, the prince, the rabbit king. You know, rabbit prince, I guess.
What was he? Well, he was called the
Prince with
the
1,000 enemies.
The Prince of 1,000 Enemies. But what was his trickster name? He had a.
Well, El Herrera is his name. I'm not sure it's a trickster name.
What's his? He had a third name.
He did, huh? I don't have the book in front of me right now, unfortunately, and
I don't either.
You sure there's a trickster name?
I'm pretty sure there was a trickster name. Anyways, unimportant.
Yep.
I just like how I like hearing the stories about his like tricks and all of his, all of the ways that he takes stuff from people and he just kind of like controls and manipulates.
Yeah.
Kind of like clicking things in.
But it's like it's what like they keep saying like it's good. It's what a rabbit should do. Like he was not being bad by doing those things. And certainly he has an attitude of that. But like. What's the criticism that they make of Cowslips Warren is they're not acting like real rabbits. They're not using their gifts. They're just eating food and put out by the farmer, right? And they're not being real rabbits. And so El Herrera is like the model of the real rabbit because he is the most resourceful rabbit. And so he's the model for all rabbits.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I like all of his character building, though. Mm-hmm. Like, much un-Hobbit-like, but everything's
By the way, okay, this is random. I had like 3 thoughts jumped into my mind. So you mentioned The Hobbit, and I was thinking about the Hobbit movies, how Peter Jackson basically failed to give us like 12 characters that we could remember, right? And me and you were talking off mic about 12 Angry Men and how each juror has his own personality, and in 2 hours you know everything about them pretty much. You need to. And so I think that Watership Down does a good job of kind of signifying the characters, but also The Hobbit in the movies does not, and 12 Angry Men does. So those are the thoughts that jumped into my mind all at once. Sorry. I had to get those out.
Yes, very good. Anyways, I liked the development of the characters, and as you kind of see and you watch them grow. I mean, there's still 2 or 3 that haven't come to fruition, but it's because I haven't been there long enough with them.
I'm sure they mostly do.
But just I like watching their characters develop and watch them grow and like everybody changes at some point. Like Hazel like from the journey to the Watership Down, like he changed dramatically, and I enjoyed watching how it wasn't like so. It's not like Hobbit dramatic where it's like, look, he saw the dragon, he was changed forever, right? Yeah. It's like the kind of dramatic of 12 Angry Men where it's like, oh, like this makes sense and this makes sense. And just the kind of thing where like he slowly and gradually changes his kind of his mindset and his personality.
Hazel's journey is he was a rabbit who even beforehand had natural leadership capabilities, yet he was never just forced into that role. And suddenly he's forced into that role as a leader, and so he has to grow, and he will grow because he's good at it. Now he's been forced into it. And so he's had forced growth, basically. But he's good at it, so he grows naturally at it as well. So his growth is just one of a person coming into their role, basically. Yeah, it's very nice to watch. I will say, though, that I think the miniseries wisely cut out several rabbits. Like,
I agree.
Tolkien, like it's fun to have the 12 dwarves and Bilbo, the 14th member of the company, right? That's a fun number to have. I'm not sure there's any reason really for this many rabbits, and I think that the show understood that. So,
yeah, I had a thought. I just lost it. Oh, Fiverr and Hazel's relationship. That's thick. I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I love how like
I want to ask you this. We've been kind of fawning over the book. The first time I read the book, at the very end, okay, I'm relying a lot on the author's introduction as well. Have you read the author's introduction of the book?
I have read the author's introduction.
Okay.
I remember all of it after you told me about the story, like the car story.
Right. So he basically talks about how Fiverr was modeled after some Greek character who had the gift of always telling the truth, but the punishment of no one ever believed her, right? And so right then he tells you, Fiverr is always right. Like, he just gives it to you. And so toward the very end of my first read, I was like, okay, Fiverr is going to be right. They're not going to believe him. Like, won't they realize eventually, that Fiverr is always right? So it was like, how do you think Fiverr's psychic capabilities were handled? Do you think they were handled well? And do you think that they, like, the tension of will he be believed or not was carried effectively throughout the book?
I think for the point that I am now, it's been carried out well. I don't know if he'll drag it out too long towards the end, like you said. But
you need to check back in eventually.
Yeah, but for right now, where I am in the book, I don't know, 2/4, halfway, maybe a third through it. I just enjoy I enjoy kind of the uncertainty of like, I know that Fiverr's right. Like, there's no way that he's not right at this point. But, like, will Hazel enforce that? right? Will Hazel believe? And that's really what it comes down to for, like, what I was talking about, like, the relationship. Like, the trust that those two have is just, I don't know. It's enviable. I don't know. I just think that that's something that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, the back of my book at least says that it's Watership Down is about the two brothers, and it really is about them. And it's fun because they both have, great personalities, and you love each one of them, and the role that each plays in the story and things like that. And like we were talking about earlier with the genre mashup thing, Fiverr is just one of those curveballs that just gets thrown in to the genre mashup. That's the word I'm looking for. It's late, people, and I'm tired. But he throws the author throws a curveball in the book with Fiverr, and I really love it how it played out as well with just his predictive abilities, but also it's restricted in a way that like he feels things, or he's like, I feel that this place is going to be blown up eventually, and gets senses and gets mixed images sometimes, right? And I think that the show, I'm sorry, I'll save my thoughts for the show, for the podcast behind the paywall, but like the show does a lot more of just flag waving when it comes to that. But in the book, it's he just gets an impression, a sense, a feeling. he sees disconnected images, and it's all done in a really well constructed manner to where it's not a plot hole in a sense that Fiverr doesn't sense this or sense that, right? But it's handled, I think, really effectively. But like I said, I think it could be a criticism that eventually, by the author, in fact, giving away that Fiverr is basically always right. Then basically, then there's no tension in a sense, and you're just angry at the characters and they don't believe Fiverr because he's been right every single time in the past. I think it would have been more interesting if maybe he was wrong once. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there, but I think for the most part it was well managed for sure. Well,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, nothing. I was about to essentially reiterate it in my own words. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say we still have some time left. Anything else you want to talk about? Bigwig, maybe. Bigwig's awesome.
Bigwig. I love that guy.
Yeah, and by the end of the book, there's a lot of really cool scenes with him in the end. And I mean, he's maybe not your favorite. Well, I don't know.
He's
you
growing
really
into
love
my
him.
favorite character.
You really, yeah, exactly. I love how he's called, by the way, Bigwig, and it's the rabbit version is Thlaley because he has like this little tuft of hair. Like he has a big wig. Like that's what it's called, and it hit me like a week ago. I was like, huh. I don't know.
Their names are so odd. Okay, here. Before I head on Bigwig, their language, like their kind of rabbit language,
right?
Impeccable.
Yes,
I love that.
And also almost I don't group this in with the mythology as well. Like it's not the world building of a master genius like Tolkien, right? And Tolkien definitely griped about the language, probably. But what I like about it is, number one, it feels natural, it feels ingrained, it's not forced. Number two, it just grows with the story. Like he writes in the introduction, rabbits would need a word for this, so I made it up. That's what the language is just they needed a word because they would have one, so I made it up. And the mythology, it just makes so much sense, and it adds to the story, and it adds to the characters, and in such a great way, to where the world building, like, okay, I finished a Brandon Sanderson book. You know Brandon Sanderson, right, Tanner?
Yes, I do.
I finished one of his massive books on Audible about a month ago, and about half of this book was just world building to the point to where, and this was the fourth book, by the way, world building to the point where it bored me to tears, almost. And it's basically like just like literally documenting this person's scientific experiments upon this element of magic in the universe. Anyway, my point, that it just feels forced, like it feels, I don't know, like not necessarily of the story. And I may be upsetting a lot of people by saying that, but in Watership Down, it feels natural, doesn't feel forced, and it actually adds like a lot to the story and to the depth of what he's trying to do here. So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, about Bigwig, moving back towards where we were. I just like how he kind of sticks with Hazel and Fiverr, and he's kind of like, when nobody believes Hazel, he's like Hazel's protection. Mm-hmm. Kind of. He's like, he's the safety net.
Yeah, and in a poor comparison, he's the mob, right? Like, he's gonna sway the other people, or he might be. No, it's not bad. It's not. He's the person who, outside of the government, is the person who has the most sway in a sense, and will ultimately dictate where the people land.
Yeah, and he does I really like him for that. Like, so far he's made the right choices every time. Yeah. And even if he does, I can see that he'll repent of it quickly. So I have to respect his personality for that reason.
Yeah. I mean, and, obviously he's the lovable hothead kind of guy, but most of the time his passion is mostly well placed, I would say. Yeah. Well, we've said a lot of
that's
good
my
things.
thoughts on Bigwig.
Any criticisms you want to make of Watership Down before we call it a night?
No, not that I can think of. I think the book is very well placed. I think that everything that's done is very artful, and I think all the stories are interesting enough to be delightful and
Mm-hmm.
boring enough to keep me engaged. How about that? To let me fall asleep when it's time to go to bed at night. So
Yeah,
I think that
and
it's
there are
just
so many of these like fun stories sprinkled through, and they're a lot of fun. And they may feel the force of all the world building, but I think that I would argue that they're not, and I love them.
yeah. Sometimes I guess here's my respect for sometimes when books are like borderline like boring, just like when they push it right up to the edge of like this could be boring. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, this is such a great story now, because you're not going to get a kid to fall asleep when you're reading them, like, I don't know, the Chronicles of Narnia or the Green Ember. It's just like it's too engaging. You want to stay awake and you want to be engaged. But if you were to read them, I don't know, it'd be like, it's bedtime, right? It's like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to fall
Yeah, I
asleep
mean,
now. And so I enjoy that.
I would agree with you in the sense that I could see this book being read by the fire, at a night, and then everybody's kind of sleepy when it's being read. But I'm not sure I would say it's ever boring. Like, this book just gripped me, and it took me along for the ride. And that's why
Maybe
you
it's
should read
just
it.
my perception of engaging.
Maybe it is. I mean, and like when you say boring, you don't mean.
I don't mean
I
like
don't think.
I don't
Yeah.
mean boring in the sense of like I'm reading I don't know.
I'm reading a
What's
biology
boring
textbook right now.
a biology textbook. Yeah, just like chemical equations, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to read through every possible chemical equation in the entire world. That's like,
Right.
that's actually boring. I'm talking like boring in the fact of like boring. I'm sitting out on a porch in a lazy summer afternoon, right?
Yeah. It's a good kind.
The good kind
A
of
good
boring.
kind.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you haven't read this book, you should read it. It's great. Yeah, it's an awesome story. Lovable characters. It grips you. It drags you along. And it's just wonderful. It's very wonderful. So we'll be back with Isaiah to kind of wrap up our thoughts on Watership Down next time, as well as wrapping up Green Ember. So make sure you tune in then. And for a little sneak peek, we're about to shout out our donors who supported us over at patreon.com/bookinit and support us for $5 or more. But if you support us for $10 or more, soon we will be releasing an episode where we review the Netflix/BBC miniseries of Watership Down. And I will say, as a little teaser for that episode, that I think is they make interesting choices, and I think that one or two of those choices actually improved upon the story. And there is one moment, in fact, involving Fiverr and involving Hazel at the very end of the show that they added, and it's very short, but I like that addition. And we'll be talking about that over at patreon.com/booknet. Any final thoughts on Watership Down, real fast, Tanner, before we do our donor shoutouts?
Read it because I enjoy it. And it takes a lot to get me to enjoy a book.
Because Tanner loves it, you shalt read it. By the way, Tanner, very high standards when it comes to books, low standards when it comes to things he watches at 11 p.m.
Facts. That is too true. That is so true.
I'm about to we're about to stop recording. He's going to go watch some like dumb show on Amazon Prime or something. I don't know.
I'm not watching a dumb show. I'm watching Jack Ryan right now. Okay?
We can't recommend that, okay? I don't recommend anything that Tanner does after a certain time. So,
I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying what I'm watching.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to shout out our donors, which, as I said, supported us over at patreon.com/bookinit. These are the people who have given us $5 or more. $5 gets you a shout out. $2 and above gets you access to a bunch of fun posts that we do over there. And then $10 and above gets you access to bonus episodes that we have done. So without further ado, Tanner, I'll say the patron, and then you say if you think that they would be a member of the Owlsla or not. Okay?
Ooh, okay.
Which, by the way, if you haven't read the book, the Owlsla are just like the police of the Warrens. That the rabbits
They're
live
the
in,
good
basically.
guy, bad guys.
Yeah. Okay, Nana,
Yes.
whose house I am in right now, and I'm about to fall into bed at her house. Vem Pepe and Wayla.
Yes.
Isaiah's grandparents, Mike and Sylvia.
Yes.
Mike and Laura.
Yes.
Aunt Jenny and Uncle Sam.
Yes.
Moses.
No.
Zara.
Yes.
First no. Anna.
No.
Emily.
Yes.
Becky.
No.
Lizzie.
Yes.
Keenan.
Yes.
Well, I couldn't tell any discernible pattern, so I assume it was fairly non-biased. And judging on the time that it took him to respond, he was flipping a coin or something on his computer. So I don't know.
I actually, I was watching a light in my brother's room, and every time that the light went on, it was that.
Is
Yes.
your brother like angry? Does he want you to come to bed?
I don't know why it's flicking on and off. I just saw it continue to flick on and off, so I used it as a judgment.
Nice. Well, folks, it is currently 10:32 Central Standard Time. Oh, yeah, it is Standard Time. Central Standard Time. And we are going to be signing off for this week. We'll see you next time, but until then,
Keep on booking it.
make sure to rate and review us.